All right, January 2nd, 2013, and I'm here with Chris and Debbie Klynstra, and this is kind of a little bit of a different interview because I've known you guys for, has it been 12 years you've been here?
10.
10 years.
Well, yeah, a little over 10.
10 years that you guys have been in Sandpoint, so I've been here for the birth of your two children, got to know you guys. You've been here at Kootenai Community Church.
Not actually there at the birth.
Right, I wasn't that good. Clarify that. I wasn't actually at the birth. I've been here in Sandpoint when your children were born in Sandpoint. You guys have been to the mission field before, but now you've been here at Kootenai Community Church for the last 10 years, and now you're going back to the mission field. So this is actually like a pre-missionary interview of sorts. So I want to ask you some questions about you guys, and the whole goal of this is so that other people can get to know you the way that I know you, better than I know you, and I'm sure that things will come out here that I don't even remember or know about you guys. So where, as a beginner, where are you guys headed? What mission field are you guys headed to, and with what mission organization?
Well, we're headed with Mission Aviation Fellowship, and it's MAF for short. We don't actually know where we're going yet. We're going to find out in a couple weeks where we're headed. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to be a maintenance specialist, and Deb's going to help me out. So
now you have served with, this is Chris, you have served with Mission Aviation Fellowship in the past, right?
Yep, I've served with them as a pilot mechanic, and now I'm just going to be a maintenance specialist this time.
So are you going to be a pilot at all?
Nope.
In the mission field? How long ago did you serve with MAF?
About 11 years ago. So.
And you have really, right now, no idea what part of the world you're going with or what your work is going to entail. Is it going to be overseas, do you know, or something
it's going to be overseas. We kind of assumed it would be Indonesia where I was before, just because of language study, and they have quite a few of the Kodiaks, which is an airplane I've been working on for the last 10 years.
Okay. And Debbie, you were a missionary before as well?
I was with New Tribes Mission in Papua New Guinea.
And this was back before you guys were married?
Right.
Correct.
And what year was that you guys were in the mission field?
I was there
11 years ago for you?
Yeah, 97 to 2002.
Okay. And so now you guys are married. You went to the mission field single. Now you're married. Did you guys meet on the mission field?
Yeah, we met through mutual friends. Friends that had gone through the training, New Tribes training with Deb and the family. He was a pilot mechanic as well with New Tribes, and he had the same. Our hangars were right next to each other, so we did stuff together all the time. And he says, "Well, I happen to know the perfect person for you," and I've heard that 100 times before, but they were right. So.
Yep, and his wife wrote me over in New Guinea and said, "I found him," and I said, "Sure." We were old singles. Missionaries like to get old singles together. But I flew over to Pontianak, Indonesia, where Chris was, and met, and a lot of long-distance writing, getting to know each other over the next couple of years. Chris still was going to be overseas till the end of 2001, and I was coming home, and we just did a lot of writing and got to know each other, and God's timing was perfect.
Through email or snail mail?
Email.
And there was no Skype or teleconferencing back then?
Nope, just email. A lot of it.
It was very good. It was a great way to get to know each other.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit further, back to you guys' childhood. Both of you grew up in Christian homes, is that true?
I did, yep. Christian home.
And where your family from?
From Michigan, West Michigan, little town called Zeeland, Michigan.
Yeah. And how did you come to faith in Christ?
I was 8 or 9, third grade, whatever age I was in third grade. Actually watching a Billy Graham crusade on television. And it was after the Billy Graham crusade that went upstairs and said my prayers, and Mom was up there, and I said I wanted to give my life to Christ, and that's what I did.
Wow, and so you had grown up in a Christian family, had gone to church, and that's when the Spirit of God called you, was through that crusade.
Yeah.
Interesting. And how did you become a Christian?
At church. I went to a Baptist church back on Long Island, New York, and my dad didn't go to church, and my mom didn't go to church much, but my grandma took us. And we went to Sunday school, and then, anybody want to come forward, raise your hand, and that's what I did. I felt the Lord, I was only 7, and as far as my 7-year-old mind could understand, I gave my life to Christ. But it was over the years that He's really grown me. But yeah, it was when I was 7, and eventually my mom started coming to church, and it is my dad's church. He just doesn't come a lot.
And so now both of you grew up through your teen years walking with the Lord in a Christian family, growing, maturing, being discipled.
Yep.
And how did God call you each individually to the mission field?
I was in high school. I always had an interest in aviation, airplanes, flying, or maintenance, or whatever, just working with my hands. And I also liked to help people. And that was just the way that the Lord said, hey, you can do this. And I just found out about the school I went to, Klynstra University, which had an aviation program. And that was just...
Is that where you learned to fly?
That's where I learned to fly. Yep.
So did you go to college with the intention of learning to fly so that you could go to the mission field, or just learning to fly because you were interested in airplanes?
I went to Klynstra to be a missionary pilot and mechanic. So that's why I went.
So you learned how to work on airplanes as well?
Right. Yep. Did both.
And when you got out of Klynstra, you went directly to the mission field?
Nope. After Klynstra, I worked a little bit around home in Michigan, a little bit, a couple, 3 years, and then a friend of mine from college called me up to Alaska, and he said he needed some help up there doing aircraft maintenance and a little bit of flying, so that's where I went, gain experience.
They want you to have experience before. MAF won't even take you if you don't have a certain number of hours or experience. So
I see.
Most guys go through a bunch of stuff even before they get to MAF.
So how long was that you were doing that?
I was up in Alaska 4.5 years.
4.5?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So it was a great experience. I worked on a variety of different airplanes and got to fly for them as well.
And the whole time you're expecting that you're going to go into missionary work of some sort with MAF?
Yep.
So you spent the 4.5 years basically being interned as a missionary pilot, so you could...
Pretty much. Just
you could do that.
Gaining experience. So a lot of valuable experience.
And you just knew that this is what God wanted you to do? This was just His calling on your life?
Yep.
No skywriting in the sky or anything like that?
No,
Special message in Scripture?
Just felt that's where the Lord was directing me. So.
And so what year did you go to the mission field?
It was, I think I started applying to MAF the first time in 97, or maybe it was 96, and then went over for 3.5 years, 97, 98, started, and came back home December of 2001, because I heard about the project I'm working on right now.
So you came back from the mission field because of what you've been doing for the last 10 years?
That's correct.
We'll get to that in a bit. Okay, so how did you get called to the mission field, Debbie?
There was handwriting in the sky for me. Sorry about that. I went to college, and between my junior and senior year, I never had an interest in missions. I mean, missions was interesting, but I was not heading in that direction. But I felt like my walk with the Lord was not what I wanted it to be. I knew I was missing something, but I didn't know what it was. So our college had an opportunity to go overseas on a missions trip to Papua New Guinea. I went with 2 other college students, and then we met up with another team. And those 2 months over in Papua New Guinea changed my life, and it challenged me to start pursuing foreign missions.
And that was just a short-term mission trip?
Short-term, 2 months.
With what college?
I was with the King's College, but I went with Pioneer Missions. And it changed my life. I came back from that for my senior year of college, totally with missions in mind. I knew that that's what I wanted to do. But student loans were there. And I was looking to see what mission board did I want to go with. And in my senior year, I also was challenged to go on another short-term missions trip with New Tribes Mission. That's where I discovered I really like what they're doing and the training that they had. So I was in Venezuela for a month right after my senior year, but I went home and I knew I needed to pay off my student loans. So I was on the 10 years pay back my student loan plan. I lived with my parents. Everything I made went towards my loans, and I was done in 5. So when I was 27 years old, I started off to school again, to Bible school. New Tribes has a training, 2 years of Bible school, 1 year of Missions Institute, and then a year of language school. So
after Bible college, you went to Bible college.
Right. It's so, I was older than most of the students, but it was a great experience. So yeah, at the time it wasn't a degree, but by the time I finished, I got my bachelor's in missions. So
how did you get connected with New Tribes? Decide to go with New Tribes as opposed to any other missions organization?
When I was at the King's College, and that was when it was in Briarcliff, New York, they sent out their Africa teams from New York City, and so the closest place for them to have orientation was our college. So I sat in on some of the orientation for the kids going on a short-term missions trip to new tribes, and I was like, yes, this is what I'm looking for. Why don't I go on a missions trip with them and see? I just appreciated the training, but when I went to Bible school, I'm like, I'm 27, I know everything. I'll get through Bible school in a year. Ended up staying the 2 years and learning tons. Went through Missions Institute. That's more practical training. Learned tons. Language school wasn't teaching me how a certain language, but how to learn a language. I went through missions to be a tribal missionary to translate the Word of God, and that's what I went through the training for. But God had other plans. So
you didn't learn another language?
I didn't. I learned how to learn a language. I learned phonetics and phonemics.
Have you learned any languages since then?
I had to learn Pidgin when I lived in Papua New Guinea. So yeah, I did okay.
So how long were you in Papua New Guinea?
3.5 years, one term. And then they asked, while I was there, they had asked a few times, would I come home and be the assistant dean of women at the Bible school? And I said no the first time, and the second time I said yes. So I came home, took 6 months off for more deputation, and then went to the Bible school for a year.
And it was after that you guys met?
In all that, when I was in Papua New Guinea and he was in Indonesia, here we were leaving the same time, around the same time, and didn't know each other at all. And towards the end of my time, 2000 is when I met Chris, August of 2000. And so he was in the middle of his term. I was towards the end of my term. So we were both overseas when we met.
But for those of us who graduated from Sandpoint High School or maybe attended Clark Fork for school, how far apart are Papua New Guinea and Indonesia?
About 3,000 miles. So, I mean, at some point they have border, but Indonesia has 13,000 different islands. So it's spread out quite a ways. So we were about 3,000 miles apart.
Like flying from New York to California.
Wow. So you guys, for the providence of God that brought you together, really, through that couple.
Amen. Yep. It's pretty amazing because you kind of start to think it's never going to happen. I know this is a story of Chris's, but he was seeing a girl in Alaska and it didn't work out. And, you start to think, Lord, what am I going to do? I want to go overseas with a mate. And
am I going to be single all my life?
Right. Yep. And God was just like,
he said, just go, be faithful, and I'll work out the details. And I went deputation training and raising my support the first time. I stopped at a church and the pastor says, you could be stationed on the moon and God could find you a wife if he wanted you to. So just go. And I said, all right.
So
trust in the providence of God.
Right.
Found me on the moon.
Yeah.
But it's true. It showed us both. I mean, we're both in our mid-30s. We weren't young. You start to think that it's not going to happen and, just not that it has to happen. I think we both got old enough where you learned that getting married isn't the prize. It's God's plan. And so it's more about our holiness and not our happiness. And so it was good for us at that time.
Yeah. And so then how, you're both coming back from the mission field, when did you get married? How long after you met did you get married?
We met August of 2000, and then Chris still needed to be overseas till December of 2001, so still a lot of writing, a lot of emailing. And then he came home December of 2001, and he knew right away. It took me a little longer, because being single so long, you get kind of scared. And then so March of 2002, he asked me to marry him.
Through email, or were you guys together?
No, he came home December of 2001, and then we were together again. He was in Michigan, I was in Wisconsin at the Bible school. So still not together, but close enough where we could see each other and do a lot more talking. And actually, it was when he told me there's this great job out in Idaho. I want to go and give it a try. I started to think I cannot be away from him any longer. So March 15th, 2002, he asked me to marry him. And then June 15th of 2002, we were married.
3 months.
Yep.
3 months. But actually, we wrote a lot before that. But
right. Yeah. It wasn't like we were still getting to know, once
right.
You're older, you just kind of know, I think. But And then 3 months of waiting to hear back from Quest. So that was, he had other offers here and there, but he really felt like Quest is where God wanted him to be. We waited it out for 3 months. We lived in my grandma's house with no job, just waiting.
So you got married in June. You were waiting 3 months after that to hear back from Quest.
Correct.
Right. We waited all that time. Every day we'd come home and look at the machine to see if it was blinking, and there'd be nothing. But in August, they called, and he flew out for an interview and got the job. And then I got sick, and he had to move out here without me.
So how did you hear about Quest? We'll get to what Quest is here in just a minute, but how did you hear about Quest?
I heard about it when I was on the field, just because it's an airplane company, and their desire was to build an airplane for missions. So we just heard about it, and this guy had an idea to build this airplane.
And MAF has connections with Quest.
Correct.
As far as there's agreements there, and
Yep.
they know of each other, and
Yep.
they kind of have a mutual partnership.
MAF has like 7 Kodiaks right now, so they've gotten quite a few. And so I heard about it. They heard that they needed someone to do sheet metal work, which I had done quite a bit of, and just repair work and putting airplanes together. So I volunteered, basically.
And so that was kind of another way of serving in an industry that you're familiar with and
Right.
and loved.
Yep. Right, exactly. So I just wanted to see this airplane get made for missions because I know that there's a great need for it.
So what is Quest? Is this a big company, small company?
It's
What do they do? How are they funded? How do they run?
well, it's a small company, aviation wise. I mean, there's only about 150 employees probably right now. They build one airplane, started from nothing, and totally designed a whole new airplane for mission work as well as just for anybody actually.
What is unique about the airplane?
It runs on turbine fuel, which is readily available around the world, as opposed to like some of your smaller airplanes run on avgas, which is highly refined fuel, and it's very expensive and it's hard to get. And so it runs on turbine fuel, which is more like a diesel, and it's just easily found and readily available and runs cheaper. It's a 10-place airplane, high wing, short field and takeoff, very ruggedly built.
Perfect for the mission field.
Perfect for the mission field. So that's kind of in the sense that's the way it was designed. Somewhere that this airplane could be used in the mission field or anywhere. So.
All right. How many airplanes does Quest make? One style? One kind?
Just one kind. Since certification in, I don't know, it's been about 3-4 years ago since they certified it. We've built 85 aircraft so far.
So there's 85 of them out. How
Right
many
now.
with mission organizations?
Probably about 15 or so. Yep.
And the rest are owned by private individuals?
Private, government, small, chartered companies, so they can use it almost anywhere. So, yeah.
Are there plans to increase the number of airplanes and the type of airplanes?
Right now, it's going to be just one airplane. Concentrate on it, get it built. Right now, they're building one every 10 days. They hope to bump it up to one every 7 working days. So, it's a assembly line basically. So they start one. It takes a few months to get out the door, but every 7 days, one goes out the door because it's a total process of just how they build it.
And so you started off at Quest doing sheet metal work?
Yep.
Assembling airplanes.
I started there doing assembly. They had one aileron, I think, when I started. They didn't have anything else on the whole airplane, so I helped, along with 2 other guys, built the prototype, got it flying, certified, and tested. And
so you've flown this plane that you've built.
Yep.
Have you flown all of them?
Not all of them. Not quite.
A lot of them.
A lot of them.
Quite a few of them.
He's been the test pilot for even I think it was number 2 or number 3, even from the beginning. I mean, whenever they'd ask him, he would do it and do other flying as well as needed. There is a regular test pilot there now, but Chris can fill in. So we've seen it from the start. So it's been exciting for us to see how it all comes together. We've seen great times, we've seen hard times, but we just keep praying for God to use that company because we believe that plane is well equipped for helping things go easier overseas or wherever.
So you started off as a sheet metal kamikaze pilot, and now you're president of the company?
No, not president.
How has your job changed in the last 10 years?
I've kind of done a little bit of everything, and now I'm they're basically at the end of the assembly line where I do the test runs, get the airplane ready to go, make sure it's safe.
Do you oversee a lot of the assembly?
Not so much the assembly. I just I do the final inspection or help with it at the end. Do the final rigging of the engine. Do the test runs. Do the calibration of all the instruments and that kind of stuff.
So you know this plane from fender to fender,
pretty close
to nuts, the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know everything, but I've had my hands in a lot of it. So.
Are you going to be flying a Kodiak?
Nope, I am going to do just the maintenance. So who knows? I can do maintenance on the Kodiak, or I can do it on any other aircraft they have.
So you'll likely be somewhere at a mission station, working on airplanes, maintaining airplanes for other pilots.
That's correct.
You're probably flying a little bit to keep your numbers up and stuff.
We'll see. I volunteered. I said, okay, I can fly if you want me to, but they said our greatest need right now is for maintenance, and I'm happy to do that.
Do you have a desire to fly?
I do. I enjoy flying, but I think my greatest desire, if I were to choose one, I would probably do the maintenance.
Really?
Yep.
We did. We asked some friends in the beginning. We're like, and he's a MAF pilot over in Indonesia, and they've been good friends since Alaska. They knew each other in Alaska, and then ended up as MAF missionaries. Not together, but in two different places in Indonesia. He called him, and he's just like, what do I do? He asked lots of people, at least a few people who knew the mission work, and they're like, we desperately need maintenance specialists. And so that kind of helped, they're like, not that pilots are a dime a dozen, but we have pilots. We need somebody who's going to stay on the ground and fix these. And so that really helped him make his decision. He asked some of the people at MAF, but he asked this good friend, and he's out there, and he's like, we need maintenance specialists. So that was very helpful. We were a little surprised. You think you'd kind of want both, but even when we were down getting interviewed and stuff, they're like, people want maintenance specialists. They're like, that's when we first realized that maybe we wouldn't end up in Indonesia, that fields are kind of grappling to have one of these. And
you could go anywhere.
Yeah, I think that was just a surprise to us. We want to be available to do whatever, but I mean, I think it's a good fit, if that's what his strength is and that's what he's good at, and just to be open. You never know what God's going to ask you to do. So
the time at Quest, building airplanes, maintaining airplanes, has uniquely sort of equipped you for that even more than you were before.
I would think so. I mean, that's kind of a common sense, I guess, that I've worked on it and have this experience, and the Lord's blessed me with that. And I kind of.
Are you likely to be working on some of the Kodiaks with MAF, depending on where you're at?
I would think so. I hope so. But honestly, I don't know where I'm going yet. But I would think that they would look at my background and say,
let's put him where the Kodiaks are at.
Exactly.
He built it. Let's let him maintain it.
Right. That's what I'm hoping.
So now you've been to Sandpoint for 10 years. And you moved here in fall of 2002, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And what has the last 10 years brought to you in Sandpoint? Tell me about your time at Sandpoint for 10 years.
Kids.
Yeah, we have 2 kids. Lord's blessed us with 2 great kids, Sarah and Benjamin. And it's just been a growing experience, just not only work-wise, but, of course, newly married. Growing in our marriage and in our relationship too with the Lord. So
that's really the first place that you've lived long term as a couple.
Yep.
Bought your first house here?
Yep. Bought our first house and sold our first house. So yep. Lord's blessed us with selling our house.
Yeah.
Not only with a great place to live, but also being able to sell it as well. So. Yep.
And tell me about your 2 kids. Who are they? How old are they? And what makes them unique?
Sarah is 7 and Benjamin is 5 and unique. What makes them unique?
I think we've talked about all this with them, and I am with them 24/7. So for us to go to classes this next month and not be with them, they seem to be fine with that. I think they're excited about going. They've already asked. We didn't know if we'd be in Indonesia, but Sarah's already like, can we look up what kind of fruits they grow in Indonesia? So their minds are already working that way, and I don't know, I just feel like God has made it so that they realize that moving isn't a bad thing. Chris and I have lived in one place our whole lives when we grew up, so it was hard in the beginning to think, how dare we uproot our kids? Is this going to be bad for our kids? This was not just a spur-of-the-moment decision. This was, let's check with our parents. Let's check with our elders. Let's check with our close friends. So this was a step-by-step, and me being nervous, what are the kids going to be like? And Chris is just like, the kids are going to do great. They're very flexible. But I think God has shown us over and over again that they will be okay, and that we just need to keep him first, keep our marriage first, and then our kids are right behind that. And then what's left goes to the ministry, because everything will fall apart if our family falls apart.
Yeah.
So I like the way that he has, even though we're older and we're starting over again, I feel like we're blessed with the knowledge that we've learned here the past 10 years in a good church, ladies' Bible studies, other couples, and the things we've learned. We have a solid foundation of maturity, age, whatever, to step off from. So I think the kids, are going to do great. And I think they'll be a blessing and an asset going overseas to get to know people better.
Are they nervous at all?
No, not that I've ever seen.
I don't know if they really truly understand what we're going to do, but they're happy to be with us, and that's what we're happy about.
Yeah, there's some security just in knowing that Mom and Dad are together, and they know what's going on, and they've got a plan, and so we're good to go.
Because sometimes in the beginning they were like, well, what's Daddy going to do? I'm like, well, this is what Daddy's job will be, but we're in this together. We are Team Klynstra. This is not somebody going off, and this isn't just Chris's. This is us as a family doing this ministry together. So that's what we keep trying to bring up to them, that this isn't something separate. This is us. So I think it will do good things for our family. And if that gets in the way, we know that that's what comes first. What good is serving? I mean, you well know that. What good is serving if your family's falling apart? Mm-hmm. It just doesn't work. There's no blessing there. It's wood, hay, and stubble. So right. I think in the past, it might have, thoughts might have been different in the way. I think that just the way the culture was or the time was. But I even asked MAF about that, and they're like, yes, relationships, family, those things are important. So I loved hearing that from them, that this is where the priorities are. And then the rest will just come. Mm-hmm. I think that's where the blessing comes from and the work comes from. Not, your family isn't an extra. That's where it starts, and you work together. So I think that's what they see.
So for 10 years you've been here in Sandpoint, part of a good church, I hope. What areas have you served with in your local church?
More service, I think, as I personally, just kind of helping, help Sunday school, help my wife teach Sunday school, and picking up after church and setting up church and that kind of stuff.
Helping count money after church.
Oh, help count money too. Yep.
Yep. Ladies' Bible studies. I helped clean the church for 8 years or 7 or 8 years, and I feel like we've been a part of what was happening here, and it was really good for us. We learned, and I think feel like we gave too a lot of good relationships that we had here. Just at the time we needed them. As a newlywed couple, people come alongside to help us with that. Oh, now we have kids, now we've got godly people to come alongside us and encourage us in that, and just different things along the way. We had no family here, so ultimately this church has become our family.
And your family comes back to visit you from New York, Michigan,
yes,
Florida, wherever they're at, depending on the season, right?
Yep, they do. Quite often for kids' birthdays, they'll come out. And,
are they excited about you guys going to the mission field? Apprehensive at all?
I think they're excited. I know they're excited, but of course they're apprehensive as well. I think they're going to miss the grandkids and miss us, of course. But they understand, and that we're kind of unique in this, and so they understand.
So being in Sandpoint for 10 years, you've bought a house, you're in a good, solid career, doing what you enjoy in a church that's good, serving in ways that you enjoy. Why up and move? What would cause you to say, wow, we need to radically change everything?
Gee, he's right. Let's not do this, okay?
It was a mutual agreement. We kind of looked at each other and said, this airplane's being built. I mean, they don't necessarily need me to get this airplane built, and we decided that maybe what we have learned here, the experiences that we have, we could use them in a different area, and just kind of basically we had done before.
So how long have you been kicking this around?
April.
Probably since April, last April. So it's
almost a year.
Almost a year, not quite.
Wow, yeah. I mean, that's when it first.
That was the first time it came up.
In April, it did. That's what he said. What he just said now is kind of what he said. And for me, it's always kind of been in the back of my mind. But I did feel like working at Quest was, we were doing our part. Still we're involved in missionaries' lives. But then, yeah, we took, like I said, little steps. We checked with our parents first. What do you think of that? We didn't get a no, and then we checked with the elders from our church and, got encouragement that way. And then friends, and never got a no from anybody. So we just kept taking steps, looking to see what God would do with it.
So you're just looking for no. All I had to say was no.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Don't do it. But I know one morning, I woke up and there's like nothing left on the walls of our house because we had sold it, which was a great thing. And then I just looked at Chris. I'm like, what are we doing? And just the things that you just said this is what we were, you're not going to have a job anymore. We're not going to have a home. What are we doing? And God, just even though sometimes that fear comes up, doesn't mean it's wrong.
Yeah.
Because I kept thinking I was nervous when Chris wanted to get married, but that didn't mean it was wrong. It just meant you just keep going day by day and praying.
He's nervous. That's all it means.
Right. That's all it was. But I think sometimes people take that feeling as I shouldn't do this or it's a no. But I've learned that that's not necessarily true.
We found too that just when one person might be having doubts, the other person is really for sure. So it was just one person building the other one up.
So which one is for sure? Which one was the for sure?
Well, it all depended on the day, pretty much.
Yeah.
So
it's But in those beginning days,
mostly we were always, but if someone was having doubts, the other one was like, well, I really think this is the way we should go.
Mm-hmm.
So do both of you have this drive or passion to go back to the mission field? That's where your heart is? You've done it before?
Yeah.
I think I don't think we've ever lost that. I felt like we were doing it here to a point, but I don't think either one of us. I mean, I think with his childhood and all, that desire and mine, all those years of preparing for it, I don't think, that doesn't mean we had to be over there in order to serve, but yes, I think that desire has always been there.
I know when I came back, they said, well, do you ever plan to go back overseas? I'm like, well, I don't know right now, but if the Lord wants me to, yeah, I'd be open to it. So.
Yeah, I think it was Marty Wendell, who you guys know, missionary we support, who said when I interviewed him, I think it was him who said that once missions is in your blood, it's in your blood. You get it in your blood, and then you got to do it.
I mean, I could help people wherever, but there is a need. So I think finding people that are willing, I think, is probably the biggest thing.
So you just woke up in April and said, I can leave.
Well, I just felt that it was okay. It was okay to leave. So, I mean,
and the more you start thinking about it, the more it starts to make sense. And
Right. I knew that where I was at, not that they always needed me, but I thought I was being helpful where I was at work-wise. And but I decided, they can do this without me. I can help out somewhere else.
So yeah, we didn't just look at MAF either. We looked into, all kinds of mission organizations, but we just kept coming back to this. He was with it before. They run a good organization. They take care of their people. Not that the other ones didn't, but they just seemed to be the right fit for what you're doing.
What they knew you.
Right.
They had a history with you.
That has made it. Yeah. Even when we went back in October, they're like, oh, good to have you back. And it just felt like, this is, we'll just keep. It was a good feeling.
You're leaving everything familiar. It's nice to have something somewhat familiar to step into.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So MAF's happy to have you back. There are other mission organizations you could have had, other aviation fellowships, missions.
Mission Aviation Fellowship has probably the most Kodiaks right now. They have probably 7 of them of the different mission organizations. So I knew them, they knew me. So it was a pretty easy return, basically.
But now they got all us.
That
was a big hurdle.
It's not just me coming back.
Right.
There's a whole lot of baggage now, right?
Well, it's better.
When are you guys plan on coming back to Sandpoint area, if ever?
There's a possibility this summer too. We have additional training coming this summer. It's hostage training basically. We've got to go through, And this
You have to learn how to take hostages?
how to be taken hostage, I think.
For ministry
Does
training.
that take skills to be taken hostage?
Well, maybe just how you react. I'm not sure, but we'll find out. So we have to come back for that. So that's down in Nampa. So we'll be somewhat close.
Yeah.
So if time allows, we'd like to come back up here.
And if it's
You're not leaving tomorrow for the mission field. There's still a process that you guys are going through.
long process.
A long process.
Yeah.
What's that process entail?
We're going to be, all of January, we're going to be in Nampa for additional training.
That's Napa, Idaho.
Nampa, Idaho. And it's 2 weeks of candidacy, they call it, where they get final acceptance and figure out where you're going. And then 2 weeks of ministry partnership of learning how to raise your support. And after this month, we leave in February for Michigan, where we'll be basically our home base, where my family was and is. And the kids will be around their grandparents for a while. We'll raise our support. They estimate probably about a year to raise your support before you head overseas.
So are you going to be working in a job while you're trying to raise support, or you're going to be living off your support while you're trying to raise your
My
support?
job is raising support.
That's what they want you to do.
That's what they want us to do.
And we do get a stipend during that time. They are taking care of us. You know, as soon as we become members, we get insurance and they pay us so that that's what
What we
his
can
job will
concentrate
be.
on is raising our support.
Right.
Oh, excellent.
Yep.
So we've never lived by our family our whole 10 years. We just felt like it was important during this time. You know, we'll be back here to keep up with people, and you know, this has been our home as a married couple, but we just felt like it would be important to be with our family before we were going to be overseas. And so
And so that'd be about a year from now before you really actually end up finding the place. When do you expect to know where you're going to be stationed? Find that out this first time in Napa?
Yep. In a couple of weeks, middle of January, we'll figure out where we're going.
They throw darts at a dartboard, pull names out of a hat. How does that work?
We have a little bit of input if we have desire where we'd like to go. They also have their needs, you know, around the world where they need someone to do this work. So they offer it, and we can either accept or deny. But I'm assuming we're willing to go where they want us to. So.
Wherever the biggest need is, that's where you would head.
Right.
It could be anywhere.
Right. They know me. They know my abilities. They know what they need, where they need it. So if they're wiser than I am, so we'll let them decide that.
But yeah, we can't do ministry partnership without having a destination. It just makes everything easier. Like when we know, that's when people here will get, they'll get a prayer card and they'll get a letter saying this is where we're heading. And so, because people are wondering, you know, when will we hear something? But we will know soon. And as soon as we know, information goes out from MAF. They take care of all that for us. We provide them with a contact list, which is what we've been working on with the church, and people to be in touch with.
And then what do you expect? What do you expect as far as being able to come back on furlough and things of that nature? Is it every 2 years, 5 years?
I think it's every 3.5 years.
And they want you back
like
visiting your
6 months.
churches and
Correct.
giving updates.
Yep. I mean, they want you to stay in contact the whole time. I mean, you're overseas, but they also want face-to-face. You know, every 3.5 years, and they come back for 6 months.
And the nice part about where MAF headquarters is, Nampa, Idaho, is only 8 hours from Sandpoint, Idaho. So, I mean, it makes coming back here a lot simpler and sort of along the way. And so we know that we'll be back.
Are there any other churches in this area that are supporting you guys?
No, that we know of. We went and visited one in Newport and one here in Sandpoint, but as far as we know, you know, people are kind of waiting and seeing, you know, what's going on next. So we don't really.
How has the missionary support fundraising gone for you guys? Has it been easy? Both of you have been there before, so you had support in the past.
Actually, the first time I went, the Lord blessed me tremendously. I started raising support in August and was fully supported by end of December that same year. So that was amazing for me, and I was glad. That's not that it's something I don't necessarily like to talk in front of people, but it's Lord blessed it.
It's nice when you can stop doing that, huh?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I appreciate it. I appreciate all these people, and I know I need to appreciate the time that I'm actually doing it, but it doesn't make it easy, I guess.
I know I got advice from somebody who used to, Karen Botcher wrote me a note, and she said, appreciate and enjoy the process. Don't just try to get to the end. You know, don't just try, we need to get through this, and then we'll be where the Lord wants us. And even in the ministry partnership book we're reading, they're like, this is part of the process. Make relationships with people.
Right.
And it's, don't rush through it and wish it away. You are where God wants you right now, and there's things to learn in that too. So it's not an easy thing, but the book we're reading is good. And just to go back to the day when this church, Kootenai Community Church, prayed for us, the feeling I got was that, and the people understood this, that we are the hands and feet going somewhere else, that they're all a part of it. So I thought I'd feel uncomfortable that day and thinking, all eyes are on us. But after the prayer, I just felt like it doesn't really have anything to do with us. It's everybody working together with us. And that is the feeling we've gotten from this congregation, that we are in this together. And that has been a great way to start this whole thing. I think we're different than other people. I think other candidates will come from their hometown, go to candidacy, and then go back to their hometown. We are leaving this is our hometown. We're leaving it to go somewhere else. So there's just a little bit of extra stress or just a different change. I think we're going through a lot of change right now.
Yeah. Sometimes I've said to people before that support that is raised quickly can dwindle or disappear quickly. When people make an impetuous or a quick decision, we're going to support them, we'll give them $100 a month, and they make this without thinking or praying about it or really having a chance to process it. Those are usually the gifts that will dry up quickest. So support that can come in quick can also dwindle very quickly because people make split decisions. Whereas support that is raised over a period of time ends up being, something more substantial, something more solid.
Because it's based on the relationships, like what we have here. I feel like the people who know us and who have come up to us and said we want to support you isn't because they don't know us. It's because of 10 years of, they know
you well.
Right. Of being in a relationship and getting to know people. So that's really the special part about even people who are like, when you know where you're going to be, we'll come visit you. So, that's the exciting part, that it won't be forever, but it still is difficult to leave.
So what is the long-term plan? Are you doing this for life till the Lord calls you home, or just until He obviously directs your path somewhere else?
Always open to direction, hopefully. That's what we pray anyway. But as I see it now, long-term, just how the Lord uses us, and I know that there's a need, so that's what I'd like to do.
And with our ages, long-term isn't all that long anymore.
You guys are not that old.
Well, yeah. I'm 47. Chris is 44, just for our listeners. But, so, even if it's the next 20 years, that still puts us, close to 70. And so, like Chris said, we've always hoped to have been wherever and whatever. So, but this is what we hope to do.
And our website will have your guys' contact information and picture and all that stuff up, but how best can people contact you or keep in touch?
I would guess it would be via email would probably be the easiest way, which will have a MAF account at some point.
In the next 2 weeks. So as soon as when that information comes out, that I think this church will be able to, it'll have an MAF email address, and that's probably the easiest way, because if we are eventually overseas, our phone numbers won't work anymore.
Do you have a website for you guys other than MAF? Contact you through MAF?
Not yet.
Like Chris and Debbie Klynstra.com or something like that?
Not yet. I'm sure Deb will probably do some sort of blog or something like that.
Find me on Facebook.
Who knows?
Aircraftmechanic.com?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
And how can people pray for you?
Well, of course, we pray for our relationship with the Lord, first off, our relationship to each other, and the whole time we're being together now, I'm going to be home a lot more, and that's going to be a change and adjustment. So just the adjustments. Of course, raising support. We know that the support is out there. If the Lord wants us to go, it'll be there. Just for us to be faithful and to stick to it. So
I know this book said if God called you, He's going to fund it. So just keep, because it seems like a huge mountain to climb, but it's been good to see that it's the mindset of missionaries have to be poor and don't need a lot, and it doesn't need to be that, it shouldn't be that way. And so I think we're learning a lot that way, and that it's a vertical giving, not a horizontal giving. You're giving to the Lord, and then that person is blessed by the Lord. It isn't anything that we've done.
Right.
So that was the feeling, like I said in the prayer, that it was, us working together, not, okay, put your money into Chris and Debbie Klynstra. They're going to fail you, but, into the Lord's work, there's going to be a blessing.
Anything else you guys want to add? Did I miss anything?
Is this where you wanted us to do that musical special? Remember we prepared bringing in the sheaves
You
or
prepared
something
special
like
music?
Yeah, we have our kids do it. Not really. Just appreciate the time that we've been here, and look forward to see what the Lord has for us.
So one last thing I'll ask, and ask this of every missionary couple. What makes you guys unique, specially gifted, or specially qualified to serve in foreign missions? Are you super saints? You have some super spiritual gift that others aren't privy to?
No, we're not. We're just like everybody else. I think you just want to be faithful. Trust God and keep stepping out. I think it's the only thing that's... We're not really different. Same old.
Just being obedient, and then you can do that wherever you're at. And that's all we want to do is to obey. So wherever that leads you. It was hard for me in the beginning when I was with New Tribes to not be in it anymore. It's all I knew. And then when Chris decided, this is what he was going to do, he gave up. He put his resignation into MAF, and I did not mine to New Tribes. At first, I felt lost. I didn't know. But then I realized, obedience is what he was looking for. Does that mean following my husband to Idaho and doing whatever? So I think obedience in all areas of your life is what he's looking for. It's not the where, it's not the what, it's your heart. So
may God richly bless you guys on the mission field, and thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.